checked one out, and it had the same blue cover and everything. Also, later got one that was a brown cover, actually from the early 1960s. I guess later they issued them in a blue cover. But it states we will have no military and the UN will be here. And that's actually in the new UN treaty. It says they will use in Article 15 troops who are given like mercenaries to the UN will be sent into states to disarm the people. It's just absolutely incredible. And it again, it shows our military is getting small, and then it shows the UN Army building up. And this is all from State Department 7277. It's also out of Blueprint for the Peace Race. But we're not talking about peace. We're talking about no one being able to oppose them. And seeing this now, we see what the UN does all over the world, where they've even been in the New York Times, that they send the UN into Uganda and Honduras and other areas, and actually they murder whole villages and take them over, saying it's to be an environmental preserve. And I even saw a decade ago National Geographic magazine, and they were showing UN troops in Burma driving people off the land to make it a UN sanctuary, but really they were just taking it to mine it. I mean, the UN is such a murderous group that the sex slavery, the child kidnapping, the drug dealing, the diplomatic community, and now these global interests are trying to give diplomatic community to the big banks. They're trying to give it to Monsanto. I mean, it's just a license to be like kings, as you said at the start of the interview, and we, the slaves or the serfs. But did you see CNBC a month ago admit that global government is here and run by foreign banks, and that Europe is under dictatorial rule of the technocrats, and that suddenly hundreds of news articles, Time, Newsweek, Financial Times, we've shown the articles here saying, yes, we've been conquered, but it's a good thing, and freedom is bad. I mean, so now, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, but give us your take if you have. And then B.
Yes, I have.
Oh, okay, so you have seen it.
Yeah.
Why are they suddenly going from stealth? Because back in the 60s and 70s, you have the documents. They admitted the whole plan. Even back in the 30s, you have them. They implemented a lot of it, but then we slowed them down. Now, even though we're more awake than ever, are they racing to the finish line? Or am I wrong? I mean, do you agree that they're just racing right now?
You know, I don't really have all the answers. The people vote the wrong kind of leaders into office, and it's because they don't understand what the problem is. And the problem is that they have said that we have agreed to be disarmed and that we want world government. Now, these are lies. And I went to I forget what they call her, but I had a statement made by, what do you call it, a public, anyway, it was an affidavit, and I had it attested to, that told that we had never actually studied the gun issue. I talked to a person when I was in Sacramento. At the time, we were trying to stop what was going on when it was in the highest limits of opposition. And two people brought this woman over. She was a member of one of the committees that was working under our state governor at that time, who happened to be Ronald Reagan. And she told me that they never studied the gun issue. She said, I have never missed a meeting of my committee or the subcommittees. She never missed any of the required meetings, or any of the meetings, period. And they never touched into the subject of the gun issue. And yet, when the final work came out, here was this book with the consent for the people, or from the people, to agree that their guns could be prohibited. And also the other page which followed that page was number 341, which approved of change, that they wanted, the public wanted things changed. Well, we don't want things changed to a detriment But we'd certainly like to change it that we could get rid of lying public officials and ones that want to overthrow our system and our republic. But this is where we stand now, is that they are pushing for us under the Small Arms Treaty that we're going to have to give up our guns. And what I'm trying to publicize this for, Alex, is so that we can avoid a civil war, because people are not going to go along with this. They're going to fight when they're told that they have to give up their guns, and the government is going to fight because they're going to consider that they have our permission. So that is the crux of what the civil war that can happen here will be centered around, is that one group is going to say that you did give up your permission, the other group will say we didn't. Well, the fact is that they didn't. The people didn't. These pages were put into the work that was done, as we talked about in several decades back. They made these studies, and they revised all of the standards and goals, but they slipped these 2 pages in the back that were not authorized. Even the committees that were responsible for assembling the book of standards and goals and changes. Now,
Bernadine, let me just stop you.
They didn't even know that those pages were put in.
Sure. We're talking about public laws and things. I happen to have in front of me falsification of the people's approval for the prohibition of their right to keep and bear arms, an expose on unlawful, pages 340 and 341. Again, for people watching but also listening, describe the name of the document again that I'm showing them, and then the pages that you're directing us to right now in this exhibit. Well,
we put the whole binder, I think there's 75 pages in that binder, and we put the whole binder on my website. And if anybody wants to see it, all they have to do is go into www.libertygunrights.com. I'll say it again, www.libertygunrights.com. And I think it's the second category. We have a lot of documents up on the website. It's a big website.
And notice this is all Obama-style words, a national commitment to change, but again, federal encouragement. Explain to people what this document is again, the document itself.
Well, the one, you mean the one for the falsification?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I sent you a copy, but I've sent it around to important people. Well, for one of them, it happens to be Rand Paul. And I've been checking with his office. I sent it about 2 weeks ago, and they tell me that whenever they get a package, it's held up in the mail room for security.
Yes, ma'am. We've got to go to break. Stay there. You're not understanding my question. There's a bunch of different documents in here. I'd like to name the documents for people, and I understand they're on your website, and I'd like to be able to direct them specifically to it. Because there's so many here, I want to know which one specifically you're going to out of the 70-plus pages in this particular binder. Bernadine Smith is our guest, ladies and gentlemen. Key information straight ahead. We've got the enemy zone documents.
Would it work?
Bernadine Smith's going to be with us 30 minutes into the next hour. We're going to open the phones up the last 20 minutes or so of that. But let me explain why this is so important. I know you know that the UN and the globalists want our guns. They disarm people all over the world and line them up and shoot them, bring in Al-Qaeda in Libya, kill everybody. You know, I mean, they're pure evil. Global government, eugenics bases are planned. But with this information, we can give them the State Department documents, public laws, the big law enforcement advisory commissions of Congress, and the Justice Department, and that's what I have right here, stating the goal is our total disarmament. This is what police chiefs are taught, okay? This is what they're taught. This is their goal. So it was never about public safety, ladies and gentlemen. It's about global government. They know in Chicago and New York it makes crime explode when they take lawful guns. They know all this. They want your guns to make you a slave. And I know you know that. Politicians love disarmed peasants. It's very simple. When Rome would come into an area, they'd take all the swords of the captured people, kill all the men. That's what this is all about. And now they're saying how guns won. We're winning the intellectual battle, but they don't care. They're saying, and in official, public laws, that they've injected stuff into the law enforcement manuals that isn't part of the law. It's fraudulent. That's what she breaks down. They're teaching police chiefs and everybody with these federal advisory boards that she warned about 30 years ago that are now federalizing things publicly, saying that the people want their guns taken and saying it's a law. Just like they come to your door and want to know what kind of toilet you got and what type of bank, statement you have under the census. And they say it's the law. No, it's the law to say how many people live there. That's what the code states, not what type of toilet you have or when you go to work in the morning. This is all fraud. And they know when they raise taxes in California, it's going to make it collapse. That's the other part of this global agenda, is Agenda 21, to shut off the resources. The guns are only one part of it. And man, when you're reading the New York Times and LA Times saying they're going to have UN troops in every city, and now the Secretary of the Army is saying our military's under the UN and NATO and they're going to be in every city, it's here, folks. Bernadine Smith, what is it like for you now to, again, see them announcing world government, see them announcing troops in every city, but there are troops under NATO control? I mean, we're really deep into this, but it's a paradox. People are waking up. We've still got our guns, but the globalists are in control of the Federal Reserve, the federal government. They're looting us. So it's kind of a standoff, but it's not, because they're busy shutting down our power plants, shipping GM to China. I mean, they're busy trying to bring us to our knees. Why?
Just as you said before, they're looking for a complete world government. But, the Homeland Security is one that really gets to me, because it's against the law in our country to merge the military with the civilian law enforcement, and that has been done. If you do that, you move from being a republic to being a dictatorship. You cannot have the military and the civilian law enforcement together under one head. But we have it. And so this is the part that, you talk about, is it painful to watch these developments? Yes, because how can you stop it unless you get someone, say, I'm hoping to get Rand Paul, that would bring an investigation into these things, the changes in our system and the direction that they're taking us in. And if you get a large enough outcry in the country, you'll get some action.
Exactly.
But we don't have that. We don't have as big an outcry as we need. People really should be telling their neighbors and their friends that what is happening.
Exactly. Stay there. Back in 1 minute. Folks, America has been taken over. We've been occupied. Bernadine Smith's our guest for another 30 minutes. If you want to talk to her, have any questions for her, the toll-free number is 800-259-9231, and she founded the Second Amendment Committee. She's been a stalwart researcher on the global takeover. But the best way to describe this is robber barons in our own country in Europe set up the UN so they could transfer our sovereignty to it. It's not like the UN's taking us over. Traitors within our government set it up to then parallel and move the power over into it. Now our military, they openly tell Congress, is under the UN and NATO, and now we're being told they're going to be in our streets. And we're told they're for us, the #1 terrorist, conservative libertarians that believe in a world government.